Good morning and welcome back to this webinar. We're just waiting a few minutes. Thank you, Lawrence, for helping me moderate the chat, and welcome to this webinar. Please don't forget to claim your Green Star Sustainability Dev CPD point. You only need to leave your name, say hi. Please let us know who you are, where you're coming from, what are your interests, and please don't hesitate to leave any questions. In the case you required, hi Sophie, in the case you required a certificate of attendance, please just send us an email to info@suho.com.au. Well, welcome again. Let's kick off. My name is Marco Salinas, and in this webinar, I will talk on how can you predict energy efficiency with the use of Hubble. And I will tell you, or I will try to give you a sense on when you should be doing it. And perhaps a little bit of the context is that even among experts in this area, in this domain, it's really difficult to understand what is going to be the impact of modifying a little bit the layout or some of the materials in a building specification. So with the use of novel technology such as AI, machine learning, we are trying to identify and understand really early on in the project how these concepts might impact, for better or for worse, any given design. So please stay with us, and I will try to show you. And please don't hesitate to leave any question. So let me just jump on, try to explain why are we trying to do this. And the answer is quite simple. The market, there is a clear gap in the market where we can see that the builder is, as we speak, incapable of perhaps providing really good solutions in terms of energy efficiency performance. And one of the reasons behind of this is because it's quite difficult to understand, and it's quite complex, obscure, and in such a way that at the time of the design, when they're having those discussions with their clients, it's really difficult to understand what is going to be the benefit of using a different type of glazing, a different type of roof, and how this is going to impact the entire life cycle of this construction. And this might include even evaluation of the property in the future. So there are many things that I will try to cover, and please don't hesitate to write down your question. This image over here clearly shows that gap in the market. We can see a builder perhaps not being capable of adding that extra value to a house or to a construction, and at the end of the day, we will have a owner just living or occupant living in this property, perhaps facing the consequences of not having those early conversations. If we start looking at the numbers, then we will see that we will have to provide housing, and we will have to grow in order to fulfill the demand. By 2075, the population of Australia will be double. The residential approvals are continue going up steadily, and the price of electricity just goes up and up, which generates a big assumption or a huge argument that we need to start looking at how can we start saving that power consumption. And if we look at different trends, we will find that there's more awareness in energy efficiency, so we can find that energy expenditure allocated to construction projects over the time has been growing as well. And there is a clear trend where we can see that perhaps by 2030, there will be like at least 10% of the expenditure of a construction project will be allocated just to energy efficiency and to the optimization of this. And that's what we're trying to do. And yet again, we can see that there is one really clear story here, which is we're trying to build a house and this house is not providing sufficient arguments to indicate that is something that we would like to live in, or it is not maximizing our return of investment, and that is something that everyone would like to do, or just increase the livability of the house. So if I take you really quick to what is the construction process, you will find out that there is a sales process where usually you will be talking, if you are planning to build a house, with a sales rep. And at this point in time, the sales rep will be receiving a brief or the indication of a standard house. And at this point in time, perhaps if you have already assessed the house in the same orientation, perhaps you will have a clear, or perhaps you will have like an understanding how the energy performance will be. However, as soon as you start customizing this house, or if you started from scratch, you will lose visibility of the energy performance. And usually what this will happen is the sales rep will go to the drafting team or to the estimator, and they will be back and forth at least 3 to 5 times trying to customize this house to the future homeowner. They will be modifying the house without knowing actually what is the impact, or if at the end of the day they are going to be meeting compliance. So then once the design it's already been approved by the future homeowner, usually what happens is that they sign off, and it is until that time where it's for first time being analyzed by energy efficiency expert or consultant such as SUHO. At this time for us, usually it's quite too late. There is not that room for maneuver for improvements. The future homeowner or the client is already emotionally invested in the design of the house, so it's really difficult that we can suggest. And usually what happens, if in the case of not meeting that compliance, we will have to go all the way back, perhaps with a really bad news that the budget will have to go up, and there is a risk of losing that deal. So just because of not knowing energy performance. So builders actually are losing a lot of money just not by not knowing how to improve this process and start removing or mitigating this risk all the way from the beginning. So what we're suggesting with the use of Hubble is a tool that anyone can use, where even during the sales process, and while having those early conversations with the client, start talking about energy efficiency, the use of different materials, how this might impact, and what would be the benefits. And this is when we have a really good opportunity for an upsell. As an architect, as a builder, you have the opportunity to convey with Hubble really clearly what is going to be the benefit in terms of comfort or livability, or even in terms of energy savings. So there is a clear understanding on what's happening from the beginning. And at the end of the day, that future homeowner, the occupant, at least will know what he's getting. And the reason most of the clients currently, they try to improve or up-spec perhaps the kitchen instead of the window, is because they clearly not understand what's happening, what is going to be the return of investment, what is going to be the payback of using better materials and having a better design. So what we're suggesting is having those conversations really on with your customers, and then when going to the next step with the drafting team, then you will have the opportunity to mitigate any risk and raise any flag in the case that energy rating is going up or is going down. Any concern, you can quickly just go back really quick to the sales rep and then back to the client, and try to have really early on those conversations before they sign off of the final design. And what we're looking at this stage, this final step, is that you will know how the house will be performance. And for a builder, for an architect, it's really difficult just to get on top of those changes in regulation that usually happens every 2 years. So then by then you already mitigated that risk. I will try to, or I would like to emphasize that we are not replacing the energy efficiency assessment, but what we're trying to do is to bring it with an estimate all the way to the start of the project, so you can mitigate and understand what's happening in this domain. So then when you are submitting your design for assessment, it is much likely that you will be passing the assessment, and you will have happy customers, as you won't have to impact the budget at that point in time of the project. So let me try just to explain what is Hubble. We're using novel technology. We're using artificial intelligence, and for those that are quite familiar with the topic, we are not running a simulation with any type of engine. So what we are basically doing is perhaps a good example could be when there is a system that is trying to identify, like an image, or perhaps like facial recognition, something like that. We're trying to apply the same concepts but to the construction, to a house. At SUHO we have seen so many houses in the order of millions that it's quite simple for us, by just cleaning all this information on previous assessments, previous designs, and cleaning these data sets, generating a really big lake of data, and then start running some algorithms to try to understand what are the patterns. Then after this, we create a small component where it sits all of our artificial intelligence, and it's ready to be accessed by different clients. The latest, or one of the first clients that we develop, is a web interface that anyone can use. Anyone can understand basically how it works, and I will try to give you a quick demo on how you can use it. All right, so let me just jump into Hubble so I can explain you how it works, and please don't hesitate to write any question. I can see a few participants on the webinar. Hi, Michael. Really good to see you around. Hi, Angie. Hi, Ivan. Angad. Good to hear you. Good to hear about you. Alrighty, so let me just jump into the demo. So from left to right, we got Hubble. And we have this small telescope in here that will, if you press, this will pop out once all the results are being generated. We called our solution Hubble because we are looking for more sustainable stars. And the first thing that you will have to do on the newest versions, actually you will have to select the type of building that you are targeting, like for example an apartment or a double story or single story. That would be your first questions. In this case, in this version, it starts with what's your current location. So let me just start with SUHO in our Melbourne office. So that will pinpoint the location for those houses that they are still, for those development houses where perhaps the address is still not registered. You can just move the map a little bit around just to pinpoint where you building. This will affect technically how the rate and the prediction of the rating will be. So it's quite important, the location. Then you will have to select the type of materials, and we will have a vast list of different type of walls. We are starting with brick veneer, cavity brick, and fiber cement. So for this example, I will just run it with cavity brick. Let's go with cavity brick, and you can start adding the different type of materials, roof colors, as perhaps mentioned before, because I'm using a Mac. Usually you can, the colors are not displayed over here, but usually you can see the colors, the different shades of gray and red. So I will go with a medium, which if you are uncertain, usually is a really good place to sit. Insulation, the standard usually is R4. Suspended floors, I will add none. This is in the case of a double story, or when you're putting insulation of a waffle pod system or a lightweight house. In the case of on the floor, I would select known and roof insulation. Usually is the insulation that is sitting below the roofing material, and I will be adding no. So I will click next. It's really simple. You only need to add what is the square, the area in square meters, and then the total. Just let me just go back. The total floor area is the area delimited by the external walls. The total wall area is the external walls of the house. Let me just go away there. And the if, we're just looking at the most predominant scenario for the house. Just keep in mind that we're trying to run a quick estimation, so we're not trying to go like deep into the details of a house. Otherwise, we will be making it more and more complex. And our objective in first place actually is to make it really simple. Okay, so then I will go with 400 millimeters. Building seal, that means that there is seal in the doors and the windows. A roof ventilation, usually you need to check this one when there is a significant amount of airflow in the roof, windows, penetrations, a couple of three whirly bursts, I think they're called. I will select fans as well, so let me check this one. And then perhaps the most complex thing, which is not complex, you will have to just add the orientation of where the windows are facing and which orientation are facing. So I will just go with I got window 10 square meters facing to the, let's go with 15 square meters facing to the north. Let me just go with 10 facing east, 20 going south, another 50 going west. And you need to select the window specification as well. Like this window specification will indicate if you're using double glazing, triple glazing, or simple a simple glazing. After that, you will find a button that get the estimation, and really quick we will get what is going to be the result in the left hand side, as I mentioned at the beginning. So as we can see here, this is telling me that this house looks like a 5.3 stars. Again, this is not an estimation, this is not a rating, nothing like that, it's just an estimation. We're trying to provide, and even with a breakdown on how much energy are you saving out of this. In this case, we're looking at 5.2%, and it is almost 10% more comfortable than the minimum standard that we consider, which currently we believe is 5.3 stars. And we're trying to estimate what is going to be your operating saving cost, or potential operating saving cost. And the next version of this actually will let you fiddle around with the type of behavior of the occupant or the specifics of those occupants. For example, it will be a little bit quite different if it's a retired couple from a big family that they spend most of the time, watching TV, playing video games. So we're trying to give you a feel of this, so then you have a really good argument to go back to really early on the design, go back to those clients and explain these concepts really early, and try to co-design a solution with them. If we go back to centric design concepts, you will find that the best thing that you can do is really early, while in the sales process, engage your customers, trying to co-design what is going to be their building. So how can we start exploring different options? So if we start looking at different materials, let me just open the current star rating. So if we start looking at, we're looking at 5.3, but then as soon as we start adding different type of insulations, like for example, let me just go to R1, that will start jumping, and these numbers will start going up or down according to specification. So this is actually quite powerful, because then you don't need to wait to perhaps start receiving quite recommendations at the end of the project, of course. So you can start perhaps getting an understanding on how a material or a design will impact the energy rating. Something interesting, and before just jumping into the question section, we added a really cool chart the left, trying to explain for the NCC 2019. For those that are aware, you will have, in addition to obtain 6 stars, you will have to, your heating and cooling loads will have to be within a specific range, according to your climate zone or where you're building. So for those that are aware of this, and you need to be within that limit, we added this chart just to show you where do we predict like the amount of risk of not being within that range. And the first one will be for the cooling load, and you can see that it's in green over here, and the second one is for the heating load, which is around here. Again, this is just trying to predict if you will be within the amount of risk of not being inside that range. So we can see that over here is actually quite low. Again, so with this you can just go back to your windows and start exploring how modifying the different windows to different orientations might affect the design. We are not using 8 orientations, so you will have to select the one that is closest to the main ones: north, east, south, and west. So for example, if we add more to the south, let me just add, let's say 40, perhaps that will impact again the energy efficiency, as you can see. All right, so let me just jump into the questions. And at the end of the day, what we would like to do is to make that energy efficiency the key driver for those designs at the beginning of your project. We got Michael saying, looks great since last time I saw it. Yes, we have been improving and we have been adding cool features. We have been getting a lot of traction from different clients. This is already operational. We're running a few pilot programs, and in case you are quite interested in how this can work for your company, just let us know, and we will put it on the queue. We already have a waiting list, so we would like to hear from you. So we're running this pilot program to understand how can we add more value to those clients before going to a full market launch. Alrighty, so hi Jim, thank you. Alrighty, so I believe we reached the end of the webinar. Thank you again for being with us, and see you next time.